It's tricky because even going in, I think it wasn't even until junior or senior year that I really, for one, understood what chemical engineers do for a living, right? And then two, I didn't really even know what area I wanted to go into. It was all up in the air for me.
Hello, and welcome to the Dumb It Down podcast, where we break down key personal decisions to reflect on what really matters in school and work. I am your host, Eric Larson, and today I'm joined by my good friend, Evan Scott, who went from engineering student to travel around the world in an international master's program to his current self-proclaimed dream job in Denver, Colorado. Evan's a very smart dude and has a very cool job, and I'll let him tell you more about it. So without further ado, here's Evan. Evan Scott, welcome to the podcast. This is Eric Larson, your host for today.
You're the host every day, I guess, too, aren't you? So
this is true. Today, tomorrow, next week, whenever the heck this airs. I have no idea, but hopefully it will. So Evan and I grew up together. We were on the same 6-year-old basketball team. Evan was Big Evan because he's a pretty tall guy. I was just Eric, nondescript. And my dad was the coach. Good times.
And you could guess who the all-star was. It was not me, just to fill you in. You'll figure that out when I describe what sports I did in high school too. So.
I don't think I was an all-star quite yet. Those were my 9, 10-year-old days, and then it was downhill.
It was like, yeah, okay, 8 and up. Okay.
Yeah, right. So right down the street from me, and then Evan went to South Mac High School. Go Sabres! And I wanted to ask you a couple questions about what it was like being in high school and kind of thinking about going into engineering, picking a college, some of those things. But what was on your mind growing up when you were kind of figuring yourself out?
Yeah, I mean, I think for everyone that goes into engineering, people kind of have like a very similar answer, right? Where didn't think too much about it. I didn't have some grand vision for my life in high school. Hopefully that's normal because, it's definitely the case for me and most of the people I knew. And then, I mean, yeah, of course, I was always liked math, was good at math, came pretty easy to me, relatively. And I think it was just one of those where, retrospectively, it's the amount of influence your teachers have on your future career path in high school. Sure. And even a little before that is massive, right? So I had a really good math teacher and a really good chemistry teacher. By far my favorite teachers I had. And so what did I end up studying in college? Chemical engineering. So it's kind of the classic. I like math. I like science. I like playing around with stuff, problem solving. And so engineering was just kind of that natural, like, oh yeah, I'll do engineering.
So did a teacher put engineering on your radar or a parent? Like, how did you connect math and science to engineering?
Yeah, I don't know that it was ever anyone was specific about, oh, you should do X, Y, Z. I think it was kind of just talking to people and I'm sure it came up. Someone said, well, applied science is engineering, so you should do that because it's a little less theoretical and more practical. So I think that's, most engineers too, especially people that went into mechanical, will be like, well, I like playing with Legos as a kid.
I was going to say that
as a kid, right? Yeah, that's like another classic answer, right? And that also was a box checked by me too as a kid. So,
yeah, I guess it's just an analytical mind. But no, the teacher point I hadn't thought about too much. But you're totally right because I loved my high school physics teacher. I loved my high school chemistry teacher, and so then that combined with kind of my parents leading me into engineering through a high school internship type of thing helped. Did you expect to go to college? Were you expected to go to college? Did you have any other options there?
Yeah, I think, that's kind of, the classic model. I know it's changing a little bit, but, both my parents went to college. I think, half my grandparents didn't. So, I guess I'm technically basically third generation. But, both my parents did. Both my dad has a graduate degree. He's a dentist. So, went through a lot of schooling. My sister went to college, all that. So I think, yeah, it was kind of an expectation, right? Never directly like, oh, you must, there was nothing prescriptive from my parents on career path or like education, but I think it was just understood, and I'd always done fairly well in school and everything. So it was never an option, but, there's a lot more out there now. I think, retrospectively, taking gap years and things like that, I think are great ideas. It just wasn't necessarily on my radar from my family or my perspective.
Yeah, no, I was in the same boat. I feel like there's a pull to college, and especially once the majority of your friends are doing it, you kind of want to go along.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was also, my college selection you kind of asked about, right? I mean, I applied to Clemson, Georgia Tech, and NC State. I got into all of them, and if it hadn't been for the pull of my friends, I probably would have gone to Clemson, to be honest. But my two best friends from high school were going to NC State. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm going there. So,
right?
That's just
Future
that's how it shook out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple engineering schools in mind, applied to, got in, and then had that decision. But NC State was the choice. Go Wolfpack.
Yeah,
so
Wolfpack.
Evan and I we grew up in the same neighborhood, and we kind of became friends right before college.
Not
we hung out a couple
exactly
times.
The same neighborhood. We were across the street, and he was kind of
we were rivals.
A rival gang of neighborhood kids, basically, is what it was.
This is true, and Evan was trying to infiltrate my gang,
the PC boys. Yeah.
I guess by now, being guest number 1 or 2, you've successfully infiltrated.
That's been the most validating experience of my life, is getting Eric's acceptance into the neighborhood group.
Oh boy, well, yeah, I'll refrain from saying the one thing that you want me to say with the fist bump, but we'll cross that bridge another time. Not on the air, at least. I can't have that recorded. Okay, so NC State. So yeah, we were kind of knew each other from the summer, and then freshman year, a big bunch of us engineers in the same dorm got to know each other from Charlotte, and ended up having a bunch of fun in college and afterwards. So anyway, take me back to freshman year, Evan. I know the first year or two of our college experiences was a little different. I had some of the general education classes for me were a little different than some of the weed out classes for you. So talk a little bit about that and freshman year and your mind state then.
Yeah, so it was tough. Coming in was a huge adjustment, right, from high school. Like, to be honest, slept through a lot of my classes, probably didn't pay as much attention as I should have. Didn't take great notes, didn't have those really good fundamental habits that your teachers always tell you need and you roll your eyes at. Yeah, you need those, turns out. Got into some of these classes, and then really struggled in some of it. I went into an honors Calc 2 because I was like, oh, I've already basically done this. Why not just do honors? And, I had some other things going on there, but I just bombed the first test, and that was my reality check, right? I think I got a 40.
Freshman year?
Yeah.
Semester 1?
Bombed it. and so after that, it was kind of an inflection point. Thankfully, it hit me early, and I got my act together after that. But and the teacher at that level was flexible enough. I got A's and B's on all the rest of my tests. So they're like, okay, obviously first test not indicative of your ability as a student. So they dropped it, thankfully. But that was my induction into kind of college life a bit, was that. And I was like, oh, I got to actually step my game up. And so that, and then chemical engineering, right? You get those weed out classes, right? That's the intent is early on, they want to screen people. They say they're not weed out classes, but they are. And, I think we dropped 40% of people out of that first year, Chem E class, which actually might have been sophomore year, freshman,
yeah.
First semester of sophomore year thinking about it, but so long ago now. But
yeah, it is. It's kind of weird to think about. Yeah, I feel like they have, people know that there's weed out classes.
Unofficial
they won't
weed
call
out.
it that.
Yeah.
Some classes are different than others. Again, it depends on your teacher. So, good or bad can really affect that. Depends on the major you pick, kind of all of that. But yeah, so you had picked chemical engineering. at the same time as that semester. When was that?
I picked that initially. So our matriculation, we had to do first year general ed stuff, right? And then you matriculate. I wasn't undecided or anything, but they make you earn it your first year, right? And then, now that I think about it, it was sophomore year that we had the kind of trial by fire for chemistry students. But that freshman year was all like physics and all that, and like stuff again that I didn't have the exposure to. I didn't have the background. I didn't do physics in high school, and in college, the physics classes operate under the understanding that you did. So, again, extra learning curve kind of coming into it. That was a good reality check for me moving forward.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about...
looks like Eric is frozen.
And we're back. Yeah, something happened. Speaking of physics classes, I remember the one physics class you and I took together sophomore year. Oh my gosh, I did not like that teacher, and I would come in late afternoon, tired, and just do like a quick 5-minute nap during class, like every class.
Not great.
But made it out of there alive.
And then you realize too in college, like teachers, generally speaking, especially the general stuff, they don't care about you as much as your high school teacher does. You're kind of a number. They're there to teach. The TAs take over in a lot of ways for any actual questions. So like they're in and out, right? Like they're not nearly as invested in you succeeding as your high school or people earlier on are. When you get into like your more advanced classes that are smaller, right? Like people, like if you have good teachers, obviously they care. But early on, it's one of those differences in approaches.
Yeah, well, and like high school, it's just depending on the teacher. A big lecture hall, of course, they can't pay attention to everyone. But if you have guided notes and you have personalized PowerPoints, it's a little different.
Right.
Than, read chapters 1 and 2, and we'll see it in a week.
Right. Exactly. Being
self-paced. With some of those classes, some of those classes. So now you're a senior. You probably had an internship, but you're looking at jobs. I guess maybe you're not looking at jobs. You went another direction. What was senior year like?
Yeah, so senior year it's tricky because even going in, like I think it wasn't even until junior or senior year that I really, for one, understood what chemical engineers do for a living, right? And then two, I didn't really even know what area I wanted to go into. It was all up in the air for me. I was thinking grad school at State. I kind of had like an unofficial offer to do a dual PhD program. Junior year is kind of when my interest in sustainability got piqued up a bit. And it's so powerful if you figure out your interest and what you want to do early. Like if I had known that freshman year, then you have 4 years of college that you can take interest-specific classes, right? And you can do internships that you're interested in. So, I figured that out a little later. Thankfully, I figured it out at all.
How'd you figure that out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know what it was. I mean, I've always, I guess, been environmentally minded. It just seems kind of like maybe it's my roots, like my good Protestant traditional roots about not wasting anything. I don't really know. Okay. Maybe there's something deep seated in my upbringing that triggered me to be that way. But I was just I guess sustainability, environmentalism, all that was kind of just, I guess, everything melded together, and that just became my interest. Did a bunch of bio. I thought some of it I thought it was cool. Yeah, I get made fun of for this stuff all the time. I was relentlessly bullied by people in college about my interests. So I got called called Recyclops at the pool one time for picking up like beer cans and throwing them or putting them in the recycling bin. So
that's a deep-rooted interest then, even at the pool thinking about it. Yeah, you always are very well researched in the things that you care about. So once that was a strength or was just decided it was an interest, I'm sure there were lots and lots of hours poured into the research. And I know that still happens today because we go back and forth.
And then, so I was looking at the grad school route. And what I'll lead into is that, like, I studied German as my minor. I don't really know how we landed there. I think that was actually from parents. They thought that was a good language to learn. So I did it in high school, and just my best friend then too, and Vlad, he was doing it also. So I think we just said why not, and it covered a lot of the GE requirements. So I never got to do the study abroad though in college. So that was something I was trying to figure out how to get to do, because once you start working, there's only so many opportunities you have to really live abroad. So I was trying to figure that out. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. I was doing a bunch of job interviews, and then I got a little disillusioned with some of the places I was going out to, like chemical plants in the middle of nowhere, which is kind of what you figure out a lot of chemical engineering ends up being, surprise, surprise. And eventually landed on something. I'd applied to some grad school programs, just waiting, and I landed on a cool job in RTP that was, like a research pipeline group where they take lab scale stuff and then scale it up to pilot. Really enjoyed that. But then I heard back from one of those grad schools I'd applied to, which was a program abroad sponsored by the EU. I found this program. It was a win-win, gave me an excuse to study more about sustainable technology, sustainable energy. And it also got me abroad for 2 years. And, they were initially saying that they weren't sure if they had a scholarship for me, which is really the deciding factor. But as soon as they came through with that, I quit my job, no questions asked. They thought they're like, oh, okay, whatever, this kid wants to go do this crazy program abroad. So I think they kind of, they asked me a lot, are you sure, right? When I was making the decision, I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Not that I didn't enjoy the job, but couldn't pass that up.
The opportunity and life. Yeah. I forgot about that. So how long were you at that job? Like a month?
Like 3 months.
Oh, okay. A little longer than I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, right.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily
not
want to start a job, especially right after school, and get out of it that quick. But right, kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to go do school, do it abroad in Europe, and you ended up living in Barcelona and Norway, Sweden, and
Stockholm,
Italy as well, right?
I was going to say the same thing, but that would offend a lot of people. So, and then
so we
did a summer research opportunity in Italy. Yeah, we'll edit that out. So it was a rotational program, right? So, focused on sustainable energy. And my first year was in Barcelona, which is where the general education requirements, were kind of done, where they give you a broad overview of everything, right? Summer internship, also difficult to really get a real job as an American abroad, right? Without any kind of plug. So, worked at a lab in Turin, Italy, which is great. I mean, I really enjoyed the time there with one of my good friends from the program. And then my second year was in Stockholm. Chose that kind of based on their specialty, which was great. Really enjoyed it. And did a internship there, or my thesis, with the local Swedish Environmental Research Institute on wastewater treatment. Surprise, surprise, I studied German in college, and then lived in Spain and Sweden. So really came in useful there.
Didn't get to use it much.
And I learned more. Yeah, and I learned Italian because I lived with Italians. So, really all over the place.
Give me a quick Italian phrase that's appropriate.
Oh, that's the kicker there. I can't. Most of my language skills are inappropriate, because they thought it was funny to teach the American profane things. So
Buongiorno. Yeah, right. They're just using you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure, I feel like a lot of people upon graduating college, or maybe a couple years in, have that urge to travel abroad or live abroad, and studying abroad for a master's program is certainly one great way to do it. So I was really excited for you when that happened, and
for sure.
Actually got to see Evan when I was over there after I graduated for a couple weeks in Barcelona, a couple days. So then you came back to Raleigh, where NC State is. Ended up finding a job that was kind of adjacent to what you learned, but not quite doing all of the things that you were really interested in, especially with all this new knowledge. And transitioned that into a job you're currently at, I'm much more excited about. So a little bit on that journey.
Yeah. So, obviously the program was pretty comprehensive on, sustainable energy, all that. And energy efficiency was a big portion of that. But to be honest, there's the phrase that like energy efficiency isn't sexy, right? People care about production and, big, large scale wind farms, solar farms, all that. But no one cares about, telling someone to turn their thermostat down 2 degrees to save energy. Even though really that's fundamental to making any of those other technologies work, right? Energy efficiency is the bottom of the pyramid where everything else stacks up on top of. So I came back, and it's kind of a weird job cycle, like at least the timing wise was. And was just looking around, struggling a little bit. I applied to a bunch of these rotational programs that I was really excited about, like, the global leadership programs at some large companies, and just like wasn't getting traction with it. Didn't have the right contacts, or, wasn't going through the right avenues to get seen. At least that's how I felt. Got a job in Raleigh kind of through actually NC State's job platform, so make sure you keep that account active. Comes in handy.
Yeah.
It was energy efficiency. I wasn't super excited about it initially, but, I really developed a strong interest in it. It was basically, funny enough, a mechanical engineering job, not related to chemie at all.
Represent.
And then, really enjoyed the job, had a great starting position. I had a manager that was very supportive, very knowledgeable, who coached me a lot and taught me. And then also, I got up to speed pretty quick, and, they're a pretty traditional company, in the way that they change a little slowly. So, there are a lot of things that I wanted to do that weren't necessarily going to be implemented, at least, what I saw in an appropriate time frame, or a time frame that was, fast enough for me. But, I used the job kind of to do win-win learning, objectives, where I would have a skill set that I wanted to learn, and I knew it could be useful for my job. So I would use my job as an excuse and a reason to learn the skill set, like Python. We would get these data sets. I could have just done it in Excel and been done with it, right? But I was like, hey, I've got extra time.
Teaching yourself programming, yeah.
Right, and it'll increase the value of my deliverables at this job, and then definitely something I could translate moving forward as well. So I leveraged that. But after kind of, 2 years or so, I got a little tired of sitting on my hands a bit, and decided to look elsewhere. Got the wandering eye, and applied to a bunch of jobs. Yeah, I mean, I think my browser tab for job listings or whatever that I was looking at was 100 companies long or something like that. I had a massive backlog. That's how much I was, looking around. But
daydreaming.
I found a couple companies, I was really interested in, energy efficiency as a service was a topic that I kind of stumbled upon. Saw the current company I'm at listed for Adaptive, and found a job posting that I thought was similar, that I could handle. Thought it was honestly a huge long shot. It was for a position that at the time, I knew I could work up to, but I knew it was a long shot from an experience standpoint. One of those 8 to 10 year type experience jobs, and having 2.5 at my current job, But I made sure I emphasized in the application that, despite not meeting all the requirements here, I know I can handle it. I got it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to fill the role. And,
nice.
One thing led to another, had an interview, and I think it's one of those where my current manager, the guy who was interviewing me, saw that I got it. And even though I may not have been as, technically or plugged in from an industry standpoint as other applicants, I think just having the right mindset, and especially coming into a startup environment, which what we were or are, mindset is half or more than half the battle, and being able to be flexible and operate in the gray area. So that worked out, and this is honestly kind of I don't know what to do with myself after this. This is basically where I saw myself in 20 years as a, dream job, I guess you could say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's good. It's one of those triggers a little bit of an existential crisis now. I'm like, where do I go from here? Because, I never thought I'd get here. So, but that's a good problem, right? It's not something I'm going to complain about.
Good problem to have. Yeah, some imposter syndrome, I'm sure, in there too. But no,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, you might as well apply for things and see if you can get them and try to convince people you're worthy, and especially if you know you have the skills and the background. So I'm totally with you there.
And then kind of, bleed in.
So let's back up for a minute.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, we're in kind of the same field. We share some kind of responsibilities, but we've talked a lot about work. And after a year or so of hearing about your company, I still couldn't explain it to one of our other friends. So when she asked you, what does your company do? Like, how do they even make money? You had a really good answer for that. So yeah, starting from like square one, take me through a project and whole round numbers.
So basically, a customer, they have, they spend $100 a year on electricity. We come in, we say, hey, looks like we can change your lighting out and it's going to save you, $60. So after us, their bill would then be 40, right? So our agreement is, hey, well, you don't want to spend your own money on this, right? Let us do the project for you. We'll finance it. And instead of that $100 you were spending, maybe you spend $70. So you're still saving 30. And then that balance between the 70 and the 60 that you're actually saving, we keep as our fee. So it pays for the project and it pays us a little on top to cover our time and effort. So it's kind of a win-win business model, which is exciting. So customer gets brand new technology, whether that's lighting, HVAC, whatever. They're saving money off of their utility bill. They're saving that chunk of 30, and they're getting all this stuff up front, no cost. We're doing everything for them, and we're getting our fee out of it, out of the net savings. So in that scenario, yeah, we would get that. We would get 30, they get 30, right? 50-50 split, but it varies depending what we're doing. Something like hypothetically, right? So they could do the 40 if they had the time, effort, resources to implement these projects on their own, but they're complicated, and especially getting to scale, it's a lot easier said than done, which is where we come in.
So yeah, so you said general dream job earlier. So yeah, it's the combination of sustainability, your interest, you're helping with energy efficiency, which helps buildings use less energy, which helps to the bottom line of the building's sustainability. On top of that, you did energy efficiency coming out of school, and you translated some of those skills into this current job because they lean on you to say, okay, how much money would we actually save if we went in and did this project? And you have to know the technical portion of the lighting and the building and the footprint, right, and the dollars per kilowatt hour and all the fancy engineering stuff that you did in school, right? All
the metrics, yeah. All the fancy math stuff is what gets done on the back end, right? And then it's translating to the customer like we're doing now. So not doing what a lot of engineers, we get in trouble for doing, which is just, going off on a technical rant and not understanding who we're talking to. So that was something that I've kind of honed a little bit, maybe that's not obvious from talking to you right now, but yeah, I mean, it's great.
No,
and it's not just
the whole point.
Yeah. And it's not just the actual content of the work, which is great. It's the environment too, and like we talked about how teachers have a huge impact on your quality of, future trajectory. Having a good manager makes a equally, if not more, impact. So I've got my manager now who supports me 100%. Like it was that one of those, like you talked about, imposter, because he's like, okay, you're the guy, I trust you, figure it out. And I never had someone put that much on me, which is stressful in a way, but like it really it's either one of those, you step up to it, or you can't necessarily handle it. And thankfully, I feel like I'm stepping up to it, getting there. And, having that confidence behind you where, if I'm like, hey, I want to do this, he's like, yeah, do it. Whereas in my old position, it was like, I would just have to kind of do and ask for permission, and maybe they would use it, probably not. But here, I get to do really anything. It's like, I feel like a kid in a candy shop a lot of the times with all the stuff I'm allowed to do.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you're doing a good job because they keep putting more on your plate and giving you direct reports and stuff like that. So, very, very happy for you and proud of where you've come since the 40% of your first test in engineering. So, yeah, I mean, don't sweat the small stuff. Is certainly a portion of this, and there's a lot of different directions you can take your degree, your second degree, your first job, and I think that you're a good example of where things can go. And as you mentioned, I had this realization too, when you get to about junior year of engineering, you're like, oh, so they want me to work in a plant in the middle of nowhere. And I think with chemical engineering, it's even more of a draw than with mechanical. So yeah, going to Europe location is just experiencing that at your point in your life is a good thing. And you've been able to move around and figure some things out. So a couple other questions for you. I think that kind of covers the journey.
To your point, one last kind of closing thing that was really helpful for me in framing career. Like in my last job, I went to this conference, right? It was, I think, Duke Fuquay, their business schools, and it was a partnership with the School of Environment. And they had all these people speaking there that were chief sustainability officers at like Fortune 500 companies like Coke and Burt's Bees, and that was like another inflection point for me as far as like career path and like being focused on what I want to do. Where one of them said, the job you're going to be in 20 years doesn't exist right now. All these people were in sustainability positions. That was not a thing 20 years ago. Like that wasn't even on anyone's radar. And what they said is, you have an interest, you have a passion, whatever you're interested in. Doesn't matter what job you're in, you can apply that. There's a way to it. So, they were just talking about they were in marketing positions, but they cared a lot about sustainability. So that was always a skew that they brought to every position that they moved through. And then eventually, your natural progression by bringing the appropriate mindset and bringing your interest to the job, you end up in that right position, right? It's just a matter of staying focused on what you like, no matter what job you're going into. And that's kind of what I absorbed, right? Like that interest in learning new skills, my interest in sustainability and renewable energy and sustainability, and just brought it on and continued that as a focus. So that was something that was really impactful for me to hear. Definitely helped my trajectory.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it takes some people longer than others to identify their strengths and then to get them to translate into jobs. And then on top of that, looking out another 5, 10, 20 years, it might be hard to envision your next step because there's going to be different interests and different strengths that come up, and technology is going to change. And the whole world is kind of changing every day with technology. So looking forward to the next steps, but glad you're where you're at now. Any other comments on the job? Otherwise, I have a couple little questions, quick hitters.
Yeah, let's shoot, fire away.
First one, what's been your biggest screw up?
Oof, so many, so many to choose from. Let me think. I mean, a lot of it is, and I think you're similar, right? Where it's a big screw up to me, but like, it's not something that I think actually, or we're talking career wise. I don't know if I want to, plead the fifth on some of this stuff, but
personally, yeah, we can keep it professional.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time I ran numbers wrong, right? And only another engineer on the call with the company we were trying to sell to probably knew that I had made a mistake and done something like incorrectly, but it was a huge account. And everyone else, we got off the call, was congratulating me on handling all the technical questions really well. But I was, after the call, like banging my head against the wall on how stupid of a mistake I made. And, I just was in a bad feed.
How'd you find out?
Oh, I realized it because he called me out on like an assumption I made on something.
On the call.
And I answered at the time. It was like, oh, I'm not sure. And I'll look at it. And then I ran the numbers as soon as I got off the call. And I was like, man, he's right. And I was like, I hope that did not just blow this massive deal because I did some basic math error, just because I was crunched for time. And, that's going to live with me for the rest of my career, probably, about triple, quadruple checking everything and just being locked and loaded on answering questions appropriately, because that scarred me. But
so did the deal go through?
TBD.
Or TBD?
TBD.
Okay, we'll keep that under wraps. Yeah, hoping for the best there. Okay, so tell me something that you're excited about. Now, this could be personal or professional.
Ooh, that's tough.
Come on.
I
could list your interests.
I'm not excited about anything, Eric. One thing, personal, I'm excited. I think I'm going to get a dirt bike soon and actually start enjoying some Colorado activities. Be nice.
That's fun.
I'm interested. You're going to be coming out here soon to go skiing with me. I learned last season you guys broke me in, which is great. But I'll hopefully be able to hang. I think career-wise, just rapid fire is just the growth of the market, right? With everyone actually starting to care about sustainability is really cool to see.
Big time.
It used to be kind of a joke to calculate greenhouse gas savings numbers on jobs where no one ever cares about this, but now it's what some people, the first thing they look at. So you're just seeing the shift in mindset in the industry and being at the heart of it in a way is really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing the shift on my end too, and even in the news, ESG targets, and it's a buzz everywhere.
Right.
So
ever since BlackRock came out and really set the precedent on reporting, I think that's really been a big push. It's cool to see.
Yeah. Next one, what is your mentor, which may or may not be your boss, doing that you are not?
Let me think. Yeah, I guess it's tough because I want to say that I directly have a key, someone that I really model my life after. But people I look up to generally, I guess I'd say time management is something that I don't do well enough. Time blocking is something that I've seen people that I kind of aspire to be in their position are really good at. Setting boundaries. And then when you're off, you're off, right? When you're off, you're off. When you're on, instead of always being on or kind of on. It's having clear balance in life and clear boundaries, and that's something that as someone who's in a position that I've just been focused on grinding and working hard, it's and not having a family or anything like that, right? That is a clear reason for me to stop working. Getting that balance and setting those boundaries, especially in a work from home situation, have been difficult. So that's something going to start having to pay a little more attention to moving forward, for sure.
Yeah, no, I've thought about that as well, especially with all the work from home and more being put on your plate. So I understand that. But I feel like as you advance in your career, you have a little bit more of a pull and you feel a little bit better equipped to be able to say, no, I'll get to this tomorrow. So hopefully, that comes sooner than later.
Saying no saying no is an important skill set that takes a while, I think, to have the confidence to do.
Agreed. We could do, all right, pick one of the next ones. So what's something you do every single day? I'll just let you answer that. Doesn't have to be long.
Something that I do every single day. Not a good habit, but I drink excessive amounts of coffee. That's kind of my morning ritual. I've started to be better. Drink water first at least, but wake up and have a cup of coffee and then basically IV inject coffee the rest of the day.
They say that successful people start with that. There's a lot of people that do that, so I think you're in the clear. I was going to say cooking or something. I know you've You do a good job of stocking your stuff and cooking.
Yeah, I mean, every day I try to exercise just because that's like my, step away from my desk, go work out, and then I eat a lot, and I'm a frugal guy just like yourself. So I tend to cook most of my meals at home, and that's something I'm trying to improve the chef skill sets on.
Sure. Last one. What is one thing you could change today that would make you happier?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that would have an immediate impact, again, one, boundaries. We kind of discussed that, right? Like setting those expectations.
Sure.
I think the other is, that's a personal thing for me, is I tend to overthink. Like as far as that's just my mind works a million miles an hour, going in all different directions, and it can be a strength if channeled appropriately, but it often tends to overthinking and like borderline, potentially self-destructive, like mindsets around, like where I overthink losing that one deal potentially, right? Where, like it was a relatively minor mistake probably in the eyes of most people, but I'm like, oh, I made that one mistake, and like you don't know how much that's haunted me. So being able to like let go and stop thinking about things. For sure, and that's what we've talked about, between you and I, why I don't know if I could ever really do a sales job. I would take rejection way too hard because I would take it personally. So, and it's very, very much not personal. So if I could kind of, step off of that mindset, I think that would do the trick.
Fair enough. Well, thanks, Evan. So if someone's listening to this and they want to reach out to you, or they think you've got a cool career, can they find you on LinkedIn? Can they have you as a mentor? What's a good way to promote yourself here?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not particularly active on any of the social medias, but I'd love to help people get into a career that they really enjoy, because I feel fortunate that I found that for myself. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to help anyone that had any questions like that. I don't care about any of the use.